Guess what we're talking about today? You and me, baby. We're talking about the it factor. That's right, the it factor. I don't even know how to say it, but we're talking about it. Some people just have it, don't they? Just think about who you admire that has the it factor. I'll give you my list: Oprah, The Rock, the Dalai Lama, Taylor Swift. Oh, and the late Robin Williams and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Those folks, they have the it factor. Why? Well, because they have this ability to make me lean in and care about what they're saying. We not only admire folks like this, but we like them and we trust them. That is the heart of having the it factor. And based on the research, when people have the it factor, you know what it means? It means they have charisma. Charisma is a really cool thing because charisma will make you more influential. It'll help you make a bigger impact. And charisma absolutely is going to help you make some more money because according to the research, 82% of people's impression of you is based on whether or not you display charisma. Did you hear that? 82% of someone's impression of you based on whether or not you got charisma. I know I said it twice. That's how important it is. And here's the coolest thing about charisma. It's really easy to hack when you know the simple things you need to do. So today, here's what we're doing on the show. You're going to meet one of the world's leading researchers and experts on charisma and body language, Vanessa Van Edwards. She's a behavioral investigator, the founder of the research group Science of People, the author of the best-selling books on these topics, Captivate and Cues, and she's here to prove to you that you have the it factor. Yes, I'm talking to you. And the skill of charisma, that is how you are going to bring your it factor to life so you can make an impact, you can influence people, and you can make more income. Let's go, man. Class is in session. I am so excited for this. So let's dial up the skill of charisma. Let's bring the it factor to life. Let's increase our influence, impact, and income, people. And let's welcome Vanessa to the Mel Robbins podcast. I'm so excited for this. Vanessa, I'm so glad you're here. Well, welcome. I'm so psyched you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. I can't even tell you.
Well, let's just jump right into it because you have written the book on both charisma and body language. And so I want to start with, what is charisma and why does it matter?
What people don't realize is that charisma, more than any other attribute, is the single most important aspect of you being successful. It helps you in your relationships. It helps you professionally. It helps people take you seriously. It helps you also feel more confident and purposeful in your interactions. So charisma is that missing ingredient that we need to trigger or activate our success.
Wow. I mean, you hear so much about confidence. You hear about extroverts versus introverts. But how is it that charisma impacts all those things more than your personality or confidence?
When research looks at highly charismatic people, they find that we are looking for people who are signaling high charisma because it shows all those other things. Highly charismatic people are confident, they are competent, they are warm, they are likable. And so the most amazing aspect of charisma is it can be learned. It is not an innate trait. You don't have to be born with it or not. That anyone can learn how to be more charismatic through a very specific set of cues.
That's crazy. And you say that you were very awkward before you leveraged all the cues you're about to teach us. Will you tell us a little bit about what you struggled with?
So what's funny about charisma, I've always been fascinated by this trait. I'm a recovering awkward person. So charisma does not come naturally to me. I've always been fascinated by the cool kids. You know, I watch them and I'm like, oh, how do they know what to do? And so I was, for many years, trapped by this mistaken belief that to be charismatic, you have to be extroverted. You have to be bubbly. You have to be the life of the party. And I am not an extrovert. And so I always thought, well, I guess I can't have it. It's an innate trait. You have to be extroverted. What research actually finds is that charisma has nothing to do with your extroversion, your attractiveness, your athleticism, even your intelligence. The actual definition of highly charismatic people, what makes them different is they send a very specific set of social signals. Specifically, they are constantly signaling high warmth, so trust, likability, friendliness, along with, and this is the key, a balance of high competence, capability, power, effectiveness. And what's magical about this is if you're with someone and you are drawn into them, you immediately are able to answer two questions. I can trust you and I can rely on you. And so highly charismatic people, that's what they're signaling, warmth and competence at all times.
Wow. Okay. So let me see if I just can bottom line this.
Yes.
So, charisma, if you have charisma or you display charisma, I guess is what I should say.
Yes.
If you display charisma, other people are left with the impression that they can trust you and that they can count on you. Is that
That's
right?
that is exactly right. And the hard part about this is you can be the warmest, most competent person in the world. But if you don't show those signals, the world does not believe you. And this comes from amazing research out of Princeton University, which found that under signaling, so not signaling enough, and this is what happens, I think, with very smart people. So most of my students are off the charts intelligence, high achievers, and they think, oh, my smarts will speak for me, right? I'm really smart. I can make it through anything. I'm super prepared. I have great answers. And the problem is they under signal the warmth and competence cues. And what Dr. Fisk found, the creator of this research, she found that without enough warmth, people do not believe your competence. So the problem of smart people is they think their smarts work for them, but if they're not using the right signals, the world literally cannot believe them.
Wow. That's so is this why charisma matters?
So I think of charisma like a lubricant, right? So when we're in social
That's
interactions,
sexy.
a
That
social
is not
lubricant.
exactly the word that I thought that or the metaphor I thought you were going to use. Okay, so
But
charisma
it makes
is a
everything
social
smooth.
lubricant, everybody.
Yeah, it
Okay.
makes it smooth, it makes it smooth. Because listen, my social interactions before I learned this science were like the opposite of smooth. They were crunchy, like not in a good way, right?
Okay,
Like
so you said you were awkward. Give us an example. Come
yes,
on, Vanessa.
I'm a recovering awkward person. So awkwardness, let's talk about awkwardness is one of my favorite topics. Awkwardness dresses up in different ways. So my awkwardness, and everyone has different things. So I'm curious, Mel, if you have any awkwardness, how it dresses up. Some people, they feel awkward because of fear. Their fear of being rejected, fear of being criticized, fear of saying something silly or sounding stupid. And so their awkwardness will dress up as shutting down. So for me, my awkwardness, I'm an overthinker. I'm the
Mm.
person who I get in bed at the end of the night and I literally rethink every conversation I've had the whole day. Right? Or like I overanalyze my answers before I even say anything, which makes me a
Mm-hmm.
terrible conversationalist and listener. So my awkwardness would make me shut in, shut down. And so my introverts listening, this is often what happens when you feel awkward, you're afraid of a silence or being judged. You shut in, you close down, you stop talking. Other people, my extroverts, their awkwardness dresses up as something else. Their awkwardness dresses up as showing off, over the top, being a drama queen, talking too much. Some of my extroverted awkward friends, they'll say, sometimes I just can't stop talking. Literally, my mouth just keeps going. And so awkwardness is this really interesting way that we try to cover our fear. And so when I say I'm a recovering awkward person, I've had to conquer a lot of internal fear to be able to have interactions that I desperately, desperately want to have. That could be in a professional setting, sharing my ideas, but it also could be just trying to make good friends, trying to be open with my partner. And so I think that charisma is this lubricant because awkwardness makes our relationships, our conversations, our communication crunchy, awkward, halty. We talk too much. We talk too little. There's an awkward silence. We don't know what to do with our hands, right? We're like, what do I do with my body language? We make weird faces. We awkwardly nervous laugh. So my goal with charisma, what I've found is that it's a smoother, it's a lubricant, which we have to stick with that metaphor.
Well, it's hilarious, and it
Yeah.
also makes when you use the word crunchy about those moments when you feel awkward, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because whether you're an overtalker, oversharer, nervous laugh, interrupting people because you're extroverted, but you feel afraid of how people are going to view you, or whether you withdraw because you're afraid, that crunchiness is that sort of disruption you feel internally. And so I love this idea that charisma, which you say is a skill that anybody can develop,
Mhm.
that charisma helps you be yourself and it helps you be more influential and it helps you enjoy social settings, whether you're introverted or extroverted. That's what I'm kind of getting from this.
Oh, that's it. And so I think that what we're looking for here is a lot of people talk about confidence, and I love confidence, but I am not naturally confident. And so what would happen is I would say, just be more confident. Like I would, I'd be like trying to mantra myself into it. And if you tell someone who's awkward to just stop being awkward, it doesn't work.
Oh,
So
it
what
just
I would
makes you more awkward, I think, because then you're
say,
now focused on the fact that you're awkward.
it's like a meta, right? Like I worry that I'm a worrier and that makes me
Hmm.
worry. So, right. So like, it's like a horrible meta. So what I say is, okay, I like confidence, but let's put it to the side for a second. Let's talk about being purposeful. Purposeful is much more impactful and active. It's an active emotion. Okay. So if I say, I want to show up in this interaction as highly charismatic, I want to be my warmest self and my most confident self. And I want to clearly signal with purpose to the other person, I am trustworthy and likable, but I can also get it done. I'm powerful and capable. The key here is the balance. Most of us have an imbalance. So there's 4 segments of the population. This is what the research finds. There's the sweet spot of highly charismatic people, high warmth, high competence. That's the rare birds among us who
Now,
are
can
able
you
to
give us
balance.
an example of somebody who is highly charismatic?
Let's do the classic, Oprah. Okay. Oprah is highly charismatic, and here's why. She can be in an interview and she can make the other person feel so comfortable. They share their darkest secrets. That's warmth.
Hmm.
That's trust. She can cry with the other person. She can mimic their facial expressions. Her warmth literally draws out other people's warmth. However, you also take her very seriously. She is smart. She knows her answers. You can't sneak something by her. And that's her signaling, I'm competent. I'm going to make sure that I get to the truth here. You can rely on me to ask the hard questions. That's the perfect example. And what Oprah does and what most charismatic people do, which I want to teach everyone who's listening how to do, is you can use charisma like a dial. It's just like a thermostat. So in some situations, when you want to dial up a little bit extra warmth, you can use more warmth cues. And Oprah does this exceptionally well. In her hard-hitting interviews, she'll dial up competence. She'll hit them with the hard
Right.
questions. Go watch her interview with Lance Armstrong. I talk about Lance Armstrong a lot in the book. I pick on him a lot. Her interview with Lance Armstrong, she is high competence. She has just enough warmth to make him feel comfortable, but she asks hard questions. Versus some of her other interviews, she's dialing up warmth. She wants to make the other person feel comfortable. So that's an example of someone who's very nice balance and kind of uses her warmth and competence as a dial. Let's look at, for example, Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs is often,
Zero warmth.
am I?
No, zero warmth.
Zero
Steve
warmth. I
Jobs,
was like,
zero
I
warmth.
know.
The guy's a jerk.
Zero warmth. So he is the perfect example of high competence. He's constantly signaling, take me seriously. I'm powerful. And most importantly, what highly smart people don't realize is if they over signal competence, people see them as cold, intimidating, not a collaborator, not a team player, hard to talk to. So yes, he was brilliant, but his lack of warmth made people feel like he wasn't a collaborator. He wasn't a good team player. And his legacy is changing the world, but also being not kind. So that's an example of high competence. My highly smart people, my engineers, my really technically brilliant folks, they often get trapped in high competence because they don't know how to signal warmth. By the way, they might have all the intention to be a collaborator, but we are not taught how to signal warmth. And so they go, well, guess I don't know how to do that. So that's
Wow.
high
Okay.
competence. That's one bucket. And by the way, so as you're listening, I want you to think about what sounds like you, what feels like you. So do you feel like you have the balance? Do you feel like, no, you're off the charts in competence? You're high in competence if people always think you're in charge. You're high in competence if people have ever told you that you're intimidating or hard to talk to. That you're in a relationship or have a partner who's high in competence if they constantly Google fact check you. So highly competent folks, their mission is to get it right. They are very dominated by the idea of get it right, get the facts. And so they'll be in a conversation with you and be like, let me Google fact check that. Let me just see if that's right.
Do they share their emotions if they're high competent?
Usually less. They're much less comfortable sharing their emotions because vulnerability, sharing emotions is an aspect of warmth. So that is
Mm.
one way that competent people can hack warmth, is sharing more of their emotions. But usually they don't like that as much because emotions aren't correct, right? It's hard to be right with emotions. So they'll often, the reason why a highly competent partner, I have one of those, is I'm going to use the word afraid of emotions or uncomfortable with emotions, is because it can't be fact checked, right?
Hmm.
If someone says as a partner, I feel upset with you, how do you verify that? How do you fix it? Where's the solution? A highly competent partner, they love solving things, right? You come to them and you're like, I'm just having a bad day. And they're like, let me fix that for you. And you're like, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen. And they're like, or, no, I don't know how to do that, because they're fixers.
Got it.
So highly competent people, you have that super strength of getting it right, being fixers. Warm folks, my warm folks. So my highly warm folks, you are filled with empathy, your cheerleaders, your supporters, your mission. So if competent people want to get it right, highly warm people want to be liked. They want
Mm.
everyone to feel good. They want everyone to feel comfortable. Typically, highly warm folks, their super strength is empathy, nurturing, making people feel loved and warm, but they often give too much of themselves in sacrifice of being liked.
Got it. So, like people pleasing doormats is what you're talking about.
That's the far end. People
Yes.
pleasing is what they struggle with. And so I think that highly warm folks in the workplace, this is the other really important thing to understand, is if you're highly warm, you are fighting a battle in yourself, which is your desire to be liked gets in the way of your need to be respected.
Mm. Okay, stop. I need everybody to hear that. If you default and you are too warm, especially at work, your need to be liked is getting in the way of your need to be respected.
Yeah.
And when you are too focused on getting it right and too focused on being smart and too focused on dominating the conversation or the knowledge bank, your need to be right is dominate. How did you say your need to
Your
be
need to be
right?
right is getting in the way of your need to be liked.
Yes. Yes. Your need to be right is getting in the way of your need to be liked. That even rhymes. That's amazing.
I
I
didn't
want to
even do
go
that on purpose.
I want to go back to something in the very beginning that we were talking about.
Yes.
So, when I asked you what is charisma,
Yeah.
and you said it has nothing to do with personality, it has nothing to do with introversion or extroversion, it is not about being confident, that charisma is something that you display to other people, correct?
Yes.
And charisma matters because if you have charisma, people trust you, they like you, they count on you, which I would think means it makes you more influential, it makes you more successful, it makes you have greater influence. Is that what the benefits of charisma are?
Influence, impact, and income. So the reason
Whoa,
why,
hold
yeah,
on, hold on. So charisma
yeah,
impacts the three I's.
the three I's, all three of them. Why? If you are warm and competent, you are less likely to be underestimated. You're less likely to be dismissed and doubted. Why? We are attracted to highly charismatic people because charisma is contagious. And they have actually proven this in the lab. The more charismatic you are, the more you clearly and purposefully, I keep using the word purposeful on purpose, the more clearly you signal warmth and competence, the more contagious you are. We like to be around warm, competent people because they make us more warm and competent. And so nonverbal signals, vocal signals, verbal signals, we are constantly aware of because we want to catch them. So the reason why we're drawn to people who are that influence piece, that influence or impact piece, is because we are influenced by people who we want to be contagious with.
Mm.
We also want to be more warm and competent. So if we're around someone who's warm and competent, it makes us feel like our best selves. If you think about the most charismatic person you know, so just think about them for a second, they make you feel better. They make you feel like your best self. That's the difference, I think, between, for example, a highly charismatic person and a narcissist, right? Like, this is not just about confidence. It's about someone who actually is positively infectious. And
Hmm.
they've proven this with both negative and positive cues. So for example, Dr. Matthew Lieberman at UCLA, he flashed people a fear microexpression. So fear microexpression is when we raise our eyebrows up our forehead, and we widen our eyes so our whites show, and we take in a deep breath. So we go,
Yes.
so that expression, if he flashes that expression to someone in a fMRI, their amygdala, where they process fear, begins to activate. We catch the fear. Literally, just seeing someone with a fear face makes us feel afraid. The most important part of this experiment, though, is the moment that someone labeled the fear. So in their head or out loud said, fear, it deactivated their amygdala.
Hmm.
In other words, being aware of the cues that are being sent to us, both negative and positive, makes us aware of who is infecting us. So that influence, that impact is that highly charismatic people are so clear with their signals. It's like they're gifting, another Oprah reference, they're gifting warmth for you, competence for you, charisma for you, and not charismatic people, people who are anxious, afraid, awkward, they are signaling negative cues. That's why we don't want to be around them. We don't want to catch that fear, right? Like we don't want that fear. And so we're like, whoa, I don't like those signals. And so we avoid them as much as we possibly can.
What I love is that, first of all, you're about to teach us all how to become more charismatic. You're
Oh, yes.
also about to give us hacks related to body language and getting intentional about what we're displaying and signaling. But
Yes.
what I also love about your research is that I need everybody listening to understand something. Right now, you are unintentionally sending signals and cues to people.
That's it.
You are walking around, and whether it's a negative mood or it's anxiety or it's insecurity or it's awkwardness, or you're so focused on being right that you don't realize that you're sending signals and cues that make people not like you and not trust you, or you're so focused on being liked and that you're sending these signals of being a warm pushover, which is why you're never respected and why you're passed over at work. And so, what I love about this research is that you're helping us focus on two factors that you can display that will increase influence, impact, and income. And it doesn't matter whether you're shy or whether you're bossy. These strategies are going to work for all of us. One
Mm-hmm.
thing I would love for you to talk about before we talk about the cues is this. So, in that study that you cited from Princeton,
Yes.
they also found that charisma accounts for 82% of how people evaluate you. So, can you unpack that? Because I think it's really important for us to understand. This is not only a good idea because you're going to make more money, be more influential, and make a bigger impact. Based on the science, this is how people view you. And so, can you
82%.
unpack this for us?
So I was also shocked by that number. By the way, it's very rare to see a number that big in science, right? Especially because if I were to ask someone, how do you want to be perceived? You're going to get a list of 100 adjectives: funny, extroverted, bubbly, attractive, whatever. Actually, when someone is interacting with us, and by the way, this is not just in person, this is on your LinkedIn profile, in Zoom, on the phone, in chats, in Slack, in DMs, in your email inbox. People are using warmth and competent signals to make up 82% of their judgment of you.
Okay, stop. Everybody, did you just hear that? People are using warmth and competence, which are the two things that make up your charisma. 82% of how people judge you, evaluate you, size you up, decide to hire or date you has to do with whether or not you're warm or competent. That's bananas.
It's bananas, and it's not just your first impression. It's actually every single impression. So yes, your first impression is important, but even if you don't feel you've had a good first impression, that's okay. We are reevaluating this on every Zoom call. If someone sees your name pop up in their inbox, they're also wondering, is this a warm and competent email? In other words, can I trust this email? Can I rely on this email? The more warm and competent your email is, the faster response rates you're going to get. we as humans have a really hard time responding to, connecting with, building rapport with, being impacted by people who undersignal or people who signal in an imbalanced way. So what we're talking about here, that 82%, is making it easier for people to interact with you. I believe that your warmth and competence tells the world how they should treat you. So
Wow. And
you want
here's
to
what
be
I believe,
treated.
Vanessa. You want to hear what I believe, Vanessa? I
Yes.
believe we all have a huge blind spot when it comes to what we're signaling other people. That you may think you know how you come across and what you're displaying, but I have a feeling that we are about to learn from Vanessa that we have a massive blind spot when it comes to warmth and confidence and how you're displaying charisma or not. So, how can we, number one, figure out how charismatic we are? What do we
Okay.
do, Vanessa?
Okay. All right. So first, the first kind of diagnostic that I talked about was just which one sounds more like you. That's where we start, right? So where do you think you fall? You higher in warmth, higher in competence, you have a balance, or you under signaling, right? Do you shut down and not signal enough? The
Okay.
next thing you can do is you can actually do our diagnostic. It's totally free. And I love this because there's two ways that I want you to do this. You can take this as many times as you want. The whole point, the reason I put it up from the research is because I want people to be able to take a diagnostic, see how they come across. So they're going to be very simple
Does that
questions
mean
like,
a test?
yes, it's a test.
Okay.
Really simple test, sciencepeople.com/charisma.
Wait, hold on. What's it called? What is the URL?
Scienceofpeople.com/charisma.
Scienceofpeople.com/charisma.
/charisma.
Wait, is that the New York Times Science of People?
No, just my Science of
Oh,
People.
that's your site. Okay. Scienceofpeople.com/charisma. We will put that in the show notes. So you can take this test.
As many times as you want. And so first I want you to take it as you. I'm going to take it as you, and I want you to take it not on your ideal self, your real self.
Okay.
Okay. So on a normal day, I want you to screenshot your results. Then what I want you to do is I want you to do a 360 review. I want you to send the quiz to a partner, a friend, a colleague, and ask them to take it as you. This is the key because it's going to show you how other people see you and have them screenshot the results and then go to dinner and get a lot of wine because it'll be a great conversation.
So do you find that most people have no idea how they're showing up with other people?
You were right. Most of us have a blind spot. We think, we hope, we think of ourselves as our ideal selves. And there are days, of course, where we are a little closer to that sweet spot of warmth and competence. But what's really key, what we find is that not only are people giving them different results, but they might even have different results for home and work. So they're showing up as two selves. And that's a very important thing to know about yourself. If you're going to work and you're dreading it, you're burnt out, you're drained, it could be that you are not honoring who you truly are because you're either under signaling competence or under signaling warmth or trying to fake it till we make it. I have a little problem with that phrase. I don't love that phrase because I think that the problem is if you're going to fake warmth, it's exhausting, right? And so this is also a way to sort of get a very quick snapshot in how are people perceiving you and is it what you think you're showing?
You also have a suggestion that we record our Zoom calls in order to read how charismatic we are. That sounds horrible.
It's horrible. I'm not going to lie. It is horrible. And not only do I want you to record a Zoom call, I want you to record a Zoom call that you worked hard on. Presentation, an important client meeting, a call, and then I want you to code it. So when we talk
What
about—
does code it mean?
Okay, so when we talk about cues, so cues are the social signals humans send to each other, okay? There are 4 different modes of cues. Verbal, the one we talk about the most, so our words. This is what most of us think about all the time. We want to prepare the perfect answer, share the perfect presentation, we practice our stories. So verbal is only one mode of cues. Second is nonverbal, our body language, our gestures, our facial expressions. The third, the most important one that's overlooked, is voice tone, our vocal power, our volume, our pace, our cadence, our tone. And the last smallest one is ornaments, the jewelry we wear, what's behind us in our background, the color of our nails, how we wear our hair, our glasses. Those are the ornaments. What I want you to do is I want you to code yourself for every cue that you're showing. Everything from how many gestures you're using to what your facial expressions are doing, to your movement, to your fidgeting, to your vocal power, to the kinds of words you're using. That's also going to give you a snapshot, because what we've found in our research is that there are certain very clear signals of warmth, cues of warmth, and cues of competence. And the last one are danger zone cues, cues that are negative. My goal, this is a way that you can see, is how are you signaling warmth and competence? What are you doing with your body and your voice and your face that's making people treat you the way that they're treating you? Always, always, always want you to front with the camera. So research is very, very clear on
What does
this.
that mean, front with the camera?
Fronting. Okay, so when we are aligned on parallel lines with someone, our brain likes it. So fronting is when I angle my toes, my torso, and my top towards the camera. Research has found that if I were to give the entire interview with one shoulder angled back and my toes angled out, it would actually make it hard for you to believe me. It would make it really hard for you to open up to me. And so a mistake that I often see on Zoom calls is people will either angle out, or the worst of the worst, they have their camera on their side and they're typing like this. So
Oh,
I,
yes. I hate that.
I,
I'm like,
ah,
just turn the damn camera off.
yes, I would rather. So one thing I want you to make sure of is your setup. Not only are you a foot and a half away, but you are on parallel lines with the other person. So you're angling your toes, your torso, and your head towards them. This is both on Zoom and in person. Even in person, when someone is kind of angled out and they're trying to talk to you, you can literally feel the disengagement. The reason for this is because our toes are sort of secret windows into the soul. That's what I like to call them. Your toes, the way that they're pointed, usually indicate a secret direction that you want to go. So I have noticed anecdotally that when someone is ready to leave a conversation, you're at a networking event or at a holiday party and they have to go to the bathroom or they're kind of done, they will angle their toes towards the exit. And that is because
Wow.
their body is like, we gotta go. We want to go. So if I'm angled away from you with my toes angled towards the exit, you're subconsciously picking up on the fact that part of me is left the conversation.
You know what I'm realizing? That's stage one of me trying to get my husband, Chris, to leave a party.
Yeah.
I go up and walk up to him, but I'm angled toward the door. Like, let's go. And I do that physically without realizing it before I put my hand on my back and they're like, let's go.
Go.
So interesting. Okay, so we know danger zone. You gotta face the camera. You gotta be pointed at the camera, toes at the camera.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're signaling lack of interest and not that competent either if you're not
Yeah.
paying
And
attention.
another danger zone cue is a facial cue that I just want to point out. So, um, resting bothered face, right? Resting bothered face is when at rest, our face looks bothered. I have resting bothered face rather badly. And that is important to understand about yourself, because sometimes at rest, people will say, are you angry? Are you tired? You should know what your resting face looks like. So for example, if your resting face, my resting face looks like sadness. So
Mm,
sadness is a universal microexpression. So sadness is when the corners of our mouth turn down into an
yeah.
upside down U, and when our eyelids droop, and sometimes even our eyebrows pinch together. When
Huh.
I'm at rest, I tend to look a little sad because that's how my mouth points. This is important for me to know, because if you look sad at rest, people are going to assume you're disappointed, you're low energy. How about anger? What if you have anger? So anger is a different look. I don't have this, but I know people who do. So
I
people
do.
who have, yeah, people who have anger at rest, they pinch their eyebrows so that these two vertical lines appear in
Yep.
between their eyebrows. They might be concentrating, but they look a little irritated, a little frustrated, a little angry. None of these are right or wrong, but it's important to know how people might be perceiving you when you're just listening. So since I know that I look sad, I work hard, especially when I'm listening to someone and trying to encourage them, to dial up warmth. If you know that you look angry at rest, it's really important for you to dial up making someone feel reassured, making someone feel like they're not frustrating you, that you're really happy with them. That way, verbally, you're overcoming that resting face.
Yeah. So like the three head nod, the mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, I
Mm-hmm.
just got rid of the bitch face and
There you
now
did.
I'm
There you did.
signaling warmth.
Exactly.
I'm taking the cues here. This is great. All right. Now, what are strategies for dialing up charisma and influence, warmth and competency in emails?
Okay, emails, yes. So I love in an email, the most important thing you have to do in an email is break social scripts. So what happened in the email, we're so overloaded with email. So I love running tests on our email newsletter. So we have an email newsletter and I can actually see what's getting open rates, what's getting click rates. And one thing that we found is anytime we trigger someone's autopilot is when we use a subject like follow up or information or update or next week's meeting. You are
Delete.
literally telling the other person's brain to go to sleep. Go to sleep.
So are you saying we can have fun in work emails?
Yes. Now, fun, what I mean is use charisma verbal cues. So this is art, not science. Certain words trigger an emotional response. For
Like
example,
what?
one study, this is a really interesting study. What they did is they wanted to know if achievement-oriented words could make people achieve more. So achievement-oriented words are words like win, success, master, achieve, compete, race. Even me just saying the word win could actually change the way your brain thinks. So here's what they did, very simple experiment. They brought people into their lab, they split them up into 2 different groups. The first group got an intelligence test with a very simple set of directions. These directions were completely autopilot, socially scripted, sterile. Please take the following test to the best of your ability. You have 10 minutes to complete it. Please use a pencil. Okay. Very, very basic directions you've read a million times before. The second set of directions was the same word count. So not longer, not shorter, but they swapped in a couple of achievement-oriented words. So please perform well on this achievement test. The more answers you can win correctly, the better. Please succeed with a pencil, right? So they just sprinkled in a couple of achievement-oriented words. They found that just 3 or 4 achievement-oriented words not only made them perform better on the intelligence test, it doubled the participants' desire to keep working on the test.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It's so cool because it means in your emails, you can gift behavior change.
Okay, so for charisma, which impacts influence and income and interest or in whatever the heck they are, impact.
Impact.
So for email, what words do we want to use? Are we throwing in emojis and GIFs? Like, how does this work? Obviously,
Okay.
not all caps and tons of exclamation points, but
No. Okay. So what I like in an email is to have, and I have samples of this in the book if you want to like read a template, is I want you to have warm words, a couple of warm words. Warm words trigger the warm and fuzzies. So happy to connect with you last week. I'm so looking forward to collaborating in our meeting next week. When people read words like collaborate, they are literally more likely to be collaborative. Okay. So you are actually gifting behavior. What I want you to think about when you're writing an email, this is a really weird way to write an email, but it works. How do I want someone to think, feel, and behave after reading this email? If you want them to be warm and collaborative and open and happy and trustworthy, use those words. You are literally gifting them that feeling. But if you want them to get it done, be productive and efficient, let's brainstorm, let's power through, onwards, let's do it. I want you to gift more competent words. So the perfect email has a balance of let's connect, let's collaborate. I can't wait for the meeting next week. And let's blast through this agenda. I can't wait to hit our goals. We're going to do everything together. Onwards, Vanessa.
You know what I hear is I hear enthusiasm. I hear confidence in those words. You're displaying that, which then signals to me that I'm on a team that wants to do that. You want to know one word I don't like in an email?
Oh, tell me.
I hate that trend that started a couple years ago where people would generically sign everything best.
Oh.
Best to me as a sign off is like passive aggressive, not interested, phony pretending I give a shit. That's what best means to me.
And it's socially scripted, right? Like,
yes,
it doesn't even mean best. It doesn't even mean anything. A little experiment that we did in our newsletters is I was trying different sign-offs and I wanted to know if I could change like people's perception of me based on the sign-off. And so now I use, after a series of tests, always every sign-off in my email is to your success, Vanessa.
Oh, thank you, Vanessa.
It's like a gift. It's like success.
Yes.
Let's gift it.
I love that. And you know what I just noticed?
Hmm.
I spoke at the end of my breath. So I was like, oh, thank you, Vanessa. Like I went up on that. And I don't know if that means that I was not being,
No,
I actually mean it. So now I'm going to breathe. Thank you, Vanessa. I don't know.
but actually that was authentic because you were, it was a compliment. It was appeasement.
Yes,
Right? So you were encouraging, liking. So you went really high because you loved it.
I
What we
did.
do when we're around babies and puppies, we go really
Yes.
high like this because we really, really want them to feel good. That's good.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yes.
But remember, all of our people pleasers out there, speaking like that around puppies and babies, and when you truly mean it because you want to compliment someone, that's great. Speaking like that all the time because you are seeking reassurance or seeking being liked, that's killing your ability to be respected, and it's also not authentic.
And this works with toddlers, right? I have a toddler, 4.5. She's not even a toddler anymore. If I'm serious with my toddler, I go real low, right? I'm real low. I'm like, Sienna, we are not doing that. And she hears it. So you also can use when you're talking to your baby or your puppy or your toddler and you're like, good job, wonderful job. Don't touch that, right? There's a big difference. They hear that too. Little
Oh, do
ones
they
hear it.
ever? Do they ever? Like when
Yeah.
Chris lowers his tone of voice, everything in this house stops when the three kids are here. What are the top things that we can practice that help boost our influence and our likability when it comes to body language?
Okay. All right. Confident and likable. We have 3 power zones. Our neck dimple, I was going to back up and show you a little bit. So our neck dimple, it's our throat right here.
Our neck
belly
dimple,
button.
is that the neck dimple, like the little dip, the dip
Yeah,
in
that
there?
superstitial notch or whatever you
Okay.
say.
Okay.
Where, your necklace lies right there. So your neck dimple, your neck, your belly button, and then your lower extremity. I call it your naughty bits. It's from the Holy Grail. So your groin. I was on the Today Show and I was with a guy and sitting next to me, Ted from Queer Eye from the Straight Guy, the original Ted, the original guy. And he goes, what are you talking about with Al Roker? I said, my neck dimple, your belly button, and your groin. You keep it open when you're confident and likable. He goes, please never say the word groin on a morning show. He said, say naughty bits. It's from the Holy Grail. I loved it, Mel, as you might imagine. And I went on there. I loved it. And I said, neck, dimple, belly button, and groin. Why? But I love naughty bits because we need to practice. We need to practice. What you're learning today, you got to practice. Say, today I'm going to pay attention to belly buttons. So keep our neck dimple, our belly button, and our naughty bits open. Now let's talk about the belly button. I call this navel intelligence. We face our belly button towards people we like, admire, and trust. So if I'm flirting with Brad Pitt, but my belly button is facing George Clooney, everyone thinks I'm flirting with Brad. I want to hook up with Brad, but really my belly button wants to go home with good old George. In a meeting, count up how many belly buttons are facing you. If you have 50% of the belly buttons facing someone else, then that person is probably your arch nemesis. And if I were to give you a tip, emotional intelligence is being smarter. I would make sure I'd have meetings with that person first to get them on my side before going into that other meeting, because 50% of the ears are listening to that person. On a date, pay attention if the date is over. I'm a talker, right? So are you like talking past the sale, even in an intimate thing, like on a date, right? Pay attention. That belly button is angled towards the door, to the car they want out. I call it navel intelligence. And it's our first connection to another human being. Our belly button was connected to the umbilical cord. So the belly button rule, I call it. So keep the 3 power zones open. Watch your pacifiers, those high level pacifiers. If you're nervous, and it happens, first of all, give yourself a positive trait, right? Plant that seed, that belief. And then if you need to pacify, do toe push-ups inside your shoe. So you're up there, never tell us you're nervous. Never say, oh, I'm not good at public speaking. I'm really nervous. I'm not good. Never do that. Because when you're nervous, we see it, and mirror neurons make us nervous and love you even more. As soon as you disclaim it and like, oh, I'm nervous, I've never done this before, we're like, she figured it out. Don't let us in. Like, we are already seeing your body language. We're cheering you on. We love you so much. So instead, right here, do toe push-ups. 1 and 2 and 3 inside your shoes. We're not seeing
What does that
them.
do?
It's getting out that stress and anxiety.
Wow.
Instead of doing this, instead of benching your foot, instead of doing this, just get that stress and anxiety. When you move your body, you move your mind. That's why exercise decreases stress. In law enforcement, we get more confessions walking from the jail cell back to the interrogation room or the interrogation room to the police car than we do in the interrogation room. When you move your body, you move your mind. So sometimes we just got to get people moving. I like to say, if you're stressed, some people are anxious, right? So you have anxiety. By the way, if you are the type of person that you have anxiety and you say, but what if this happens? But what if that happens? We need a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? You're kind of gloom and doomy and everyone lets you know it. Would you like to know what your superpower is?
Yes, you can see around corners.
Their superpower is they can lean back into the past, bring the past mistakes and past wins into the future, into now, and lean into the future and use that future now. They're trend spotters. They set goals, they measure progress, they update plans. Wow. These are the people. Every weakness that we have, you're lazy, you don't finish projects, 80% you finish, it's connected to body language. You don't finish projects, like my ex-husband, that's his cute nickname, I called him, lazy, right? I call him the 80% man. He'd paint a room and leave it 20% undone. And
how long were you married?
20 years I was with him. But we get along great. He's one of my best friends, actually, by the grace of God. 20 long years. It's like SpongeBob. 20 years later. But know what his superpower was?
No.
A lazy person who doesn't finish work? Flexibility. When's the last time you thanked people for their flexibility? We spend every Christmas in Boston. He's from California. Every Halloween, every Easter, every Thanksgiving. When we go to movies, I pick the movie. When we're making dinner, I pick the dinner. I never thanked him for his flexibility, but I made fun of his laziness until I discovered, this is my next TED Talk, so you're getting a sneak peek, that all of our decision-making weaknesses have corresponding superpowers. So if you have people that don't finish projects in your life, I bet you they're the most flexible people in your life, and you may want to thank them and say, I didn't realize you have a superpower, flexibility, and I want to honor that and thank you for being so flexible.
It's your friend Mel. Got my arm around you. We're going for that walk. We're having pastries this morning. Amy and Jesse have joined us. This is one of these impromptu episodes. I cannot get the information out of my mouth fast enough.
Yeah, you got a lot to say.
I have a lot to say.
You have a lot to say. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about friendship and coffee houses. It seems like a low lift.
Right.
Seems like, something achievable. So,
okay,
tell us.
What you got, Mel?
I'm so excited about this because I do think it's possible for the next year for you to take on a project around friendship and for you to create the best friendships of your entire life doing this. And I'm so excited because I realize looking backwards that that's what I've been doing for a year. I've been putting myself out there and putting myself out there and putting myself out there because I really do want to have fun. I really do want to feel community. I really do want to have a breakthrough in this, and it's happened. And so I so want this for you. I really do. And if this sad sack can make it possible, so can you. Here's how you use a bakery to get friends as an adult. I think one of the hard things about being an adult, particularly in this world of remote work, is that you don't have as many chances to bump into people. And so what you were talking about, Amy, of that bond of a softball team or people that you meet at work or people that you meet at your kids' soccer games or people that you might meet because you're going to a yoga studio. One major thing that has impacted adult friendship is that people are way more secluded in their homes. And so it's reduced exponentially the opportunity for the first part of friendship, which is that external bond that brings you together. So you got to create the bond. And what I realized in moving to a new town in the last year or so is that it's hard to find people. Like, where am I finding my people? And I don't want to seem like a desperate stalker. So, how do I find my people? And when I'm out in public trying to create this bond, how do I approach without seeming creepy? How do you do that if you're introverted? This is weird.
Yeah.
Because you also, it's not like we're all freshmen in college again, because people that are out in public, you don't know if they're new to the area. You don't know if they've been here forever.
Are they tourists? Yeah.
Right. Yes.
You don't know.
Yes. And so we sort of opt out of these opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's where the coffee shop comes in. So first, I want you to think about your town And I'm going to tell you something that's true that you've probably never thought about. There are 4 types of coffee shops in your town.
Okay.
There is the chain. So Dunkin' Donuts, Honeydew, Starbucks, insert your favorite chain. Okay.
Yep.
And that's one type. There is the first responder coffee shop. And I'm going to explain more about that. That's where the EMTs, the volunteer fire folks, the police officers, they're all gathered there every morning. There is the kind of like the neighborhood local coffee shop, which is the place that a lot of moms stop by quickly to grab, the regular, the carrot muffin, the latte or whatever on their way to school, or maybe they meet their mom friends after school. And then there's the 4th type of coffee shop in your neighborhood, which is that super kind of high-end one. The kind of place where people wear an apron with leather straps and the pastries look like you would pay $75 for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you getting a
I see
cocktail or a
that.
coffee? You don't know.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to think about it and identify those 4 types of coffee shops, because the coffee shops themselves create an opportunity to create that external bond that is needed in order to form a friendship. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Because all 4 of those types of coffee shops automatically, like the sorting hat in Harry Potter, sort out the kind of people that walk through the front door.
Yeah.
I
I'm
could see
getting that.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with
So if you think about the first type of coffee shop, the chain,
Yeah.
Yep.
that is not a great place for you to create a bond with anybody that you want to become friends with. And I'll tell you why. Because those kind of coffee shops are very transactional.
Yeah.
A lot of them have mobile order. A lot of them have drive-through. And so the entire psychology and energy of anybody going to that coffee shop is get in and get out.
Yeah.
Get in
Yeah.
and get
Make
out.
it efficient.
Get in and get out.
Don't want to be seen.
Correct.
Right.
And if there is somebody sitting in there with a laptop, they are likely going to be sitting there with a laptop, not every single day, because they will probably be asked to not use it as their local library.
Yeah.
But they're likely going to have headphones on
Right.
because they're trying to get something done. And because that kind of coffee shop experience is so transactional that people are in and out and in and out and in and out, it's a very distracting place to work.
Right.
And so that, while they may serve great coffee and it may be an efficient way to put a mobile order in and zip in and get your coffee as you're commuting somewhere else, it's not a great place to create a bond.
Yeah.
So we're going to just move that off the table. Okay?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Second type of coffee shop in every community is what I call the first responders, salt of the earth coffee shop. This is where the people that grew up in the town, the old timers, the volunteers that keep our town running, the highway, roads, kind of what's
construction workers.
Yeah, like I love these
road maintenance.
Yes, they got the best damn donuts in town.
And the little cups of coffee.
Oh yeah, the
saucers.
little those like thick saucers. This like used to be the diner crowd.
Yeah.
And
it's an institution.
It's an institution.
Yeah.
And when you're new, it is intimidating as hell
It
to
is.
walk into it, even
It's
though
true.
it's all of the most best, amazing people.
Nicest
Who know
people.
everyone.
I
Yes,
know.
they make
They
your
have-
town run.
right.
Yes.
But it feels
Like an insider.
yeah.
Yep.
It feels like a
Yeah.
hard casing on top of that you have to kind of crack.
And you feel like
through.
you have to
It's
sit
why.
down there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that kind of first responder, salt of the earth. Thank you for your service, everybody. We love you.
Yes.
The backbone of our town. That kind of coffee shop proves my point, because that coffee shop experience where everybody gathers, they're always there having their cup of coffee before work, or they're always there after plowing all the driveways out in a snowstorm.
Very routine.
Right? That coffee shop has created their bond.
Yes.
They
Wow.
prove that it's possible.
Yes.
Never thought about that.
Right?
Yeah.
And
a great
by
point.
sitting there over a cup of coffee and having it be a ritual to start their day together most mornings, their friendship is deepening. And a couple things about this kind of coffee shop. Best donuts in town. No question.
No question.
No question, best
Yeah.
donuts in town. They probably have a crawler, that
Yeah.
big, kind of donut thing that you're going to dip in. I'll tell you what they don't have. Those kinds of coffee shops never have a machine that makes cappuccinos and lattes.
You're
They
right.
don't have espresso. Right.
Yeah.
No. You know what they have? They have the kind of institutional coffee pot maker that has the 2 pots.
Yep.
Yes.
It's like a metal tea and the 2 pots with the black
Yes.
handle.
Mel.
Yeah,
Right?
you can
And
get-
sort of the opaque
yeah.
like thing, and then they pour the coffee in, and then
Yeah.
they've also got the cream where you pull back the little packets and
Yep.
you have to
Yeah.
shake them, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. Like
So that's that coffee shop, and so here's the thing I want to tell you: if those are the kind of folks that you really connect with, and this is my entire extended family. I come from a line of farmers and machinists and COs and sheriffs and nail technicians and school administrators and
Right.
people that own bakeries. These are my people.
Yeah.
yeah.
But it is so intimidating when you're in a new town
It is.
to penetrate that older, not older as in age, but that old school
Established.
all bond
Yes.
established crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like being a kid and sneaking into the teacher's lounge.
It is like that.
Yeah.
But if you're lucky enough to do it,
Yeah.
they're going to be great people.
You're,
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
in good hands.
But I
Yeah.
think that if these are the kind of folks that are your folks, if you just show up every week and you sit down, they will put their arm around you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just got to start showing up. And so that's coffee shop number 2. And I'm so happy that it also proves my point about the bond and that this is possible for you. We're going to take another quick break because I want more of this pastry.
Get in there, Mel.
And when we return, I'm going to explain coffee shop number 3 and coffee shop number 4. And then we're going to get into some really great techniques that you can use once you pick which coffee shop you're going to try to establish your bond in to make the approach. Stay with us.
Awesome.
Welcome back.
Get in here, Aim.
It's your friend Mel. This pastry is so damn good. It came from coffee shop number 4. I'm talking about
Wow.
adult friendship and how I'm on a mission to inspire you to create the best friendships of your entire life. Whether that means you're meeting a whole new group of people or it means that you're taking out the defibrillator paddles and you're going to send life force energy shockwaves into your current friends who you've told yourself are no longer there. No, you're just no longer there. You just got to reach out. So here we go. We're going to get into all this. So I left off at, where were we?
Number 2.
Number 2, coffee shop number 2. Okay, so we covered that. Coffee shop number 3 in your town is the coffee shop where it's like the local coffee shop. It's where all the moms go on the way to work or on the way to dropping off kids at school. And it's the place where it's bustling in the morning. You got people with laptops out. It is the walk up and every other customer, they're like, I'll have the regular. And the people working behind the counter are like, they know. Oh,
Yeah.
that means you want a latte with 3 sugars and you want the carrot muffin to go. Or that means that you want the hot tea and you also want the egg sandwich with sausage on it. And so it's this community-driven, very busy, bustling. They're usually busy till like 11 because a lot of people meet there after dropping off their kids. Like it's that kind of place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right?
it's different from number 1 because it's maybe not a franchise and it's just more local.
Yes.
The local feel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And different for number 2 because it's not really the place where you see the established group
Yeah.
almost every morning.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the place that if I had to meet you at 10 o'clock to catch up, we'd meet there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like-
Solid food, solid coffee.
Yeah.
Like you know you're going to
Yeah.
get the right
yeah,
thing. but
exactly. They
it's-
got the little punch
Plus
card.
space.
where
Yeah,
you buy
the
the
loyalty
coffees, the loyalty
program.
cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might
okay.
even have the alphabetized index on the desk, for your cards. You can leave it
Oh.
there. It's,
Oh,
it's
okay.
like that kind
Yeah.
of place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They might convert to sandwiches,
Yeah.
at noontime.
Yeah.
Right.
That kind of place.
Those
Right.
They got
And all the
way more food.
teenagers way more food, and all the teenagers in town work there in the
Yes.
summertime.
Uh-huh.
And you see like little Joe, who you knew from 6 months old. Now he's 16 and he's
Yeah.
serving
Yep.
you your matcha.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And one of the other things I'm going to layer into this is that, again, the sorting hat reference. Certain types of people go to certain types of coffee shops on a regular basis. I'm not saying that we don't frequent all four, because I do frequent
yeah.
all four of these.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
But there is my go-to that really I feel more at home in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you want to spend an hour there. You want to spend 2 hours. You like, if you could only pick one of the four, there is one that you would pick.
Yeah.
And that's how you know the kind of person that you are and the kind of sorting hat thing that's going to happen for you. And this gets deeper and deeper. But let me tell you number 4 next. So number 4 is that coffee shop that is always written up in the travel guide about your town. It is the one that is white with barnwood. And the people that work there are very like kind of cool,
Yeah.
hippie, smart, maybe a beanie.
Yeah.
You've got a apron on with a leather strap.
Yeah.
The pastries look like $1 million. The coffee is strong. The latte machine is like the size of a New York City bus, and it looks gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is a whole different crowd.
Yeah.
A whole different crowd.
Yep.
And one of the things that I love about this distinction is that when you kind of decide, okay, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you can decide that based on, if you had 2 hours to spend, which coffee shop are you going to go to for 2 hours?
Right.
Like you've got a kid that's getting braces put on. You got 2 hours to kill.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go sit with your book? And the reason why this is important is because you know instinctually in your heart there are going to be certain kinds of people with certain kinds of interests coming in and out. Because none of these are better than the other. They just attract a baseline person who's interested in certain things. And look, there are amazing people that go to all four, and there are complete assholes that go to all four. It's not about that.
Yeah.
It's about the baseline interest in what people like.
Right.
So that's why the sorting hat is important. And I'm going to go back to what I said about the first coffee shop and the fact that the group of people that are the established backbone of your town that are there almost every morning, they have used that coffee shop as a bond for their friendship.
Right. Like a vessel holding their
Yes.
friendship. Yeah.
If you want to start to make adult friends, park yourself at one of those coffee shops several mornings a week and on one day on the weekend for an hour.
How is that going to help, Mel? What
I'll
are you
tell
talking
that's
about?
going to help.
Yeah.
How that's going
who's
to
got
help
time?
is
Hold
you're
it-
going to
yeah.
start seeing people coming in and out, and they're going to be the same people,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to start saying hello.
Oh.
And like I've seen Jesse at coffee shop number 4.
Guilty. Yeah.
Yes. And it was Jesse that told me about it. I had been here an entire year. I did not know that coffee shop number 4 existed.
Wow. Because your eyes were closed.
Yes.
To the friendship.
Yes, I was still thinking I was just going to have dirt around my house. So
Yes.
I'm not like going to a
Mel,
coffee shop.
living in her ant farm
And
with
so,
all the dirt.
Yeah, Jesse's like, have
Jesus.
you been to this coffee shop? And I'm not going to name it because I don't need stalkers showing up there, even
Yeah.
though I'd love to promote all the coffee shops in our town.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I was like, no. That's not-
Kick rocks. No.
I walked into that place. I was like, am I in Brooklyn, New York?
Yeah.
There's a person with a beanie.
Yeah.
There's an espresso machine. There's a pastry that I'd pay $75 for, largely because it tastes like $75, and also
Yeah.
the ingredients for me to make this at home. It would take me 8 hours. I would burn it and cost me $75 in ingredients. So
Yeah.
I'm willing to pay $5 for this thing. I think it was what it was. That's a bargain.
Bargain.
That's a freaking bargain.
Yeah.
And when I walked into this place, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so here's how this works. This becomes your go-to place when you meet people elsewhere to meet at.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anytime you meet somebody new or somebody introduces you to somebody in the town, you say, how about we go get coffee on Saturday morning at 9:00 at the such and such?
Yes.
Now, here's where this starts to build. As you meet new people, here's what you say, because I always meet my friends there at 9:00 on Saturday morning.
You're
That's a
creating
good
an
ad right
institution.
there.
You're creating your
Yeah.
bond and your institution.
You know what? You know what's hitting me right now
Tell
about
me.
all of this? Friendship is a verb.
Oh.
Like, when you're saying, oh, let's meet up for coffee, or let's, let you park yourself there, and then you have to actually, park yourself at the coffee shop, and then you actually have to talk to people.
Yes.
Friendship is a verb. Like, you got
Yes.
to be doing things. It's an action word. Like, you have to make it happen. That's
Yes.
what's hitting me right
Yes.
now. Yeah.
And the
Good
more you
point.
go there, the more you start to know the staff and the owners.
Yeah.
And then you'll see who else knows the staff and owners. And then that gives you an in. Don't you just love this place? How long have you known so and so and so and so? And here's another way that you can like strike up a conversation. If you're standing in line, turn to the person next to you and ask them, what's the best donut? What's the best muffin? What's the best pastry here? What do you recommend?
Yeah.
That's your in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your in. And here's the other reason why I don't like category number 1 for this kind of friendship building. And the reason why is it's so transactional. Who in their right mind turns to anybody at a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts and is like, what donut do you recommend?
Yeah.
Like, no, like, you're like, idiot. They've had the same ones for a decade. What do you mean, what ones? Have you never been here?
The menu has not changed.
Yes. And plus, you don't know if they're just driving through
Yeah.
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 on their
Right.
way somewhere else.
Yeah.
Pit stop.
Yeah, it's a pit stop. And so this allows you to start to create that bond. It gives you a place where you're always going to say you meet people on Saturday mornings there at 9:00 in the morning. And that's your parking spot. That's your bond. And then you tell people that every time you meet them there, and then people start to bring their friends.
Yeah.
And that's how it starts to grow. And here's another tip. If you're shy and if you have trouble approaching people, here's the best way to approach for anybody. Look at something the person is wearing, or look at some feature like glasses or nails,
Yeah.
or a hairstyle, or a
Right.
hair or color, or
Right.
braids, or whatever it may be, or
Earrings,
a weave,
jewelry.
or earrings,
Yeah.
earrings, jewelry. Compliment them. Compliment them.
Yeah.
When you compliment, oh my God, your nails are so great. Wow. People literally light up like a light bulb.
They do.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I know I do, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah.
And so everybody else must too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you're new, I would say this all the time to people. I'm new here. What do people do here?
Yeah.
Or even if you're
That's a
not
good
new
one.
somewhere, you can say to somebody, you know, I've lived here a long time, but these last 3 years, I think I've kind of become like a little bit like socially awkward. I've fallen out of loop of what's going on this weekend around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's what's super cool about that. Let's go back to the way that coffee shops work as sorting hats. If you ask somebody that at Starbucks, the likelihood is they're going to shrug their shoulders and be like, I don't know. And then they race off because they're just
Yeah.
coming in for their mobile
Too
order.
busy. Yeah.
You go to coffee shop number 2. Those folks are going to tell you something super fun like, oh, well, there's a tractor pull over at such
There's a
and
potluck.
such. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Or there's like a whatever, there is, or there's something going on over at the, there's like a bingo night or this, that. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying any of this is good or bad. I'm just saying it's a type of thing.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
there's a huge
more
like
neighborhoody.
pizza fundraiser thing
Yeah.
going on for the local, fire department singing a job. If you go to coffee shop number 3, it'll be like, oh, well, there's a art fair at the school this
Birthday
weekend.
party.
Yeah, those kind of things. Something going on at the library. You go to number 4, it's like, oh, well, there's a mushroom foraging such and such
Yes.
happening. Or there's a author coming to the bookstore.
Right.
And so again, because it's a sorting hat of what people are interested in, you're pulled in for the aesthetic, you're pulled in for the type of food, you're pulled in for the vibe. But those kind of folks that kind of love those sort of things tend to have certain kind of events
Yeah.
Yeah.
that they go to. And so you're also then going to get recommendations that also feel like it's something you actually might want to do.
Right.
Well, and what I'm also getting from this is that it's a better spot to make conversation at number 4. Because it's not transient where people are going in and out. It's not institutionalized. It's not focused around maybe kids or work or something like that. It's a great place to strike up a conversation. So go
Yes.
where it's a little bit easier.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
And here's one more recommendation that has really helped me. And again, I think I've demonstrated over and over that I can put myself out there. I don't give a shit. Like, it's an emergency to solve the loneliness problem.
Yeah.
And so I have no problem because I have no problem going up to people and saying, I'm new to the area and I desperately need friends. Like, if you guys need friends, let me know.
Yeah.
I did. How do people meet people here? And most people laugh and say, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even if you have been in an area for a long time, there are two things I want you to do. It is okay to live in an area for 20, 30 years and feel lonely. And it's normal, and I think most of us do because of the last 3 years and quarantine and remote work. Mm-hmm. It's okay to do all of this in your own town where you've always lived and to say to people, I've become a hermit. I'm trying to like make some new friends. Like if you feel that way, you guys want to start a walking group or something? You want to just meet here on Saturdays so we have a touch point?
Right.
And then if people say yes, I get their cell phone right then. I text them right then. And here is a power move. You say, make fun of yourself. And the second I walk out of here, I'm going to forget what you look like. So why don't we take a selfie? So we remember
That's a good idea.
this moment.
Yeah.
And so that when I text you, you're not like, who is this freak from the coffee shop? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And
Love
so that is a major thing. And I say that because for the first 6 months, I started using this coffee shop strategy on adult friendship.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
The selfie thing. You didn't do that.
And then weeks would go by and somebody would text and be like, hey, you want to meet at the bakery? And I'm thinking, who the fuck is this?
Awkward.
Who do I give my name to? I
Yeah.
don't even,
Not
and then
good.
I've got ADHD, so I would have deleted the text chain. I'm like, who the fuck is this? And now you're embarrassed because you're like, who is this?
All right.
What's your name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you walk in and you're thinking, okay, what person am I?
Yeah,
looking
that's not
for?
a good start to the friendship. So
Yeah.
you smoothed it out a little bit with the selfie
Yes.
thing. I think that really is a power move.
Yes.
Yeah. Really
Yes.
good. And that also shows you're super determined.
Right.
We're getting together.
I'm
We're-
going to see you again.
I'm going to
Yes.
see you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.